Of course, HEW isn't as big as it is, with 80 billions of expenditure involved, as powerful and broad as it is. It isn't really the major social welfare attack program. That is not under HEW at all. That's directly under the President in a special operation under the Office of Economic Opportunity. Mr. Dan Smoot has recently been making a study of the OEO. I wonder, Mr. Smoot, if you'd care to make some comments on what's happening with OEO and what's wrong with what's happening.
Did you want 10 hours or 1 minute? I'm sure that all of you remember the war on poverty was declared by Lyndon in 1964. 15 months later, in Watts, the era of anarchistic street violence in the United States began. That chronology is not coincidental. It was planned that way. The war on poverty has been one of the main causes of the violence that has seared the soul and scarred the face of America in the past 7 years. Even Daniel Moynihan concedes this. Moynihan was a high official in both the Johnson and Kennedy administrations and was one of the creators of the war on poverty. Moynihan says that the war on poverty probably ignited the violence of the 1960s because it raised the level of expectations of the poor without improving their conditions one whit. Well, of course, that is the truth, but there's more to it than that. The legal services program of the war on poverty, the real action arm of the whole operation, has been in the forefront of inciting hatred of and guerrilla warfare against the United States with your tax money. And they have succeeded rather well in their mission thus far, not merely because of the inevitability of disappointing the poor by leading them to expect more than they can get, but because the poverty warriors wanted to incite hatred and guerrilla warfare. That is their mission. An overwhelming preponderance of the so-called poverty war lawyers in the legal services program are radical activist leftists who hate the traditional system of constitutional government and profit-motivated private capitalism in the United States, and they want to destroy it by any means whatever, and they've been working toward that end with our tax money. And day before yesterday, the Senate passed SO 3010, a bill authorizing a 3-year extension and $9 billion of your tax money to continue the war on poverty. And in that piece of legislation, Title IX set up the legal services program, taking it out of the OEO and establishing it as a permanent, independent, tax-funded agency of the federal government that will be quite beyond the control of the Congress that creates it. A comparable bill is in the House, and this thing should be stopped by massive public protest, because in my opinion there is no piece of legislation presently pending before the Congress that is of more far-reaching significance, more profoundly dangerous to constitutional government than Title IX and the OEO Extension Act now to create the legal services program as an independent corporation.